Let's start with three. The three. Welcome into the first installment of the show for this week. This is Freshly Pressed on the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1, where we love music and we love life. It is 31 minutes past 7 a.m., 16th day of February 2026. My name is Ayokunmi Kekiriak, and welcome into another day, another week, another opportunity to make things happen, to right the wrongs of the previous week and pick up from where you left off. Hope you had a great weekend. Well, yesterday into today, a lot of people talked about not having power. There's a message here from Imade in Ikola Rodipaja who says, no light since yesterday afternoon. What kind of crude way of life is this? Well, I didn't have power as well. And two other people also mentioned they didn't have power also here in Lagos. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's the grid. I didn't see anything. But wherever you are right now, do you have power? So, Amy, I know you have something you want to say.
I'm sorry about you guys not having power. Luckily for the presidency, they won't have your problem. They are soon going off grid. Good
Well,
morning, Ayo. Good
good
morning,
morning.
Mr. C. And good morning to the many Lagos residents who don't have power and don't have 20 billion naira with which to get themselves insulated from the national grid that they're supposed to be responsible for. They are mere citizens. Leaders have left the national grid. You and I are left on it. I don't have power, just in case you were wondering. I've not seen power. What is power? Power is who? Why power?
Morning to you, AV. Well, you know what they say, fingers are not equal at all, at all. We'll get back into some of these issues. Mr. C is also in the studio. Good morning to you, Mr. C.
Good morning, Aya. Good morning, Navy. Good morning, Vegas, and happy birthday to a listener of the show. This is Helen Oyegoke. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you, Mrs. Helen. Oyekoke, thank you for being a part of the Smooth family. Great to always know that you are there. All right. You can join us as you always do this morning on the show on WhatsApp and on YouTube as well. YouTube, you can find us streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Leave all your comments there. We look forward to hearing the different perspectives on the issues that we have on the ground. If you feel need to shake tables, hey, please do. But keep it within the bounds of civility. Very important. WhatsApp number is 0911 0981. All right, Mr. C, let's dive right into the stories here. Digi says, no power in Mafoluku. Well, it seems like there's something going on in the city of Lagos that I do not know, but I will dig deeper and find out what's happening. All right, Mr. C, let's step into The Guardian and let's talk about this controversial issue that's been raging back and forth between the former Kaduna State Governor, Madam Nasir El-Rufai, the NSC as well. Well, the presidency on Sunday dismissed the former Kaduna State Governor's recent correspondence to the National Security Advisor on the alleged procurement of thallium sulfate as a calculated attempt to stir political tension and divert attention from corruption allegations leveled against him in Kaduna State. It is very interesting what's been going on. Recently there was the issue of the attempt to arrest Madam El-Rufai at the airport out there in Abuja. He's been very vocal recently. Now, for him to have made this sort of allegations, yes, the NSA and from the government side are saying that this is just a smokescreen to divert attention from the fact that he has a case to answer with the EFCC, with the ICPC, and whatnot. But for him to have said what he said, I mean, you know what they say, there is really no smoke without fire. What exactly can we make of this?
Okay, thank you, Aya. So this case is the latest episode in what I would describe as a classic study of Nigerian power dynamics, brinkmanship, and the optics of accountability. Now, he's not the first person to have suffered this fate. Bukola Saraki went down this road. Atiku Abubakar also suffered the same fate. Now, for the benefit of our listeners, a while ago, the Kaduna State House of Assembly unanimously said that Mr. Nasir El-Rufai should be investigated and prosecuted by the ICPC and or the FCC because they allege or they supposedly or purportedly established that 423 billion could not be found. Billionaire could not be found. Now, remember that Mr. El Rufai, who was formerly an enforcer, a political enforcer for the APC, fell out with this present administration, especially after he couldn't scale the nomination process at the National Assembly, where he expected to be a minister. Now, naturally, Mr. El Rufai, who is a renowned and excellent political strategist, has started fighting back. So he leaks a letter that was written to the NSA alleging that information available to the national opposition political figures indicates or suggests that someone or some people within the office of the NSA may have imported a significant amount of thallium. Now, thallium has a number of industrial and commercial uses, but it's also being used in homicide cases because it can slowly kill the victim without drawing attention. Now, expectedly, the presidency fought back and said no, that the letter is a distraction, that the real issue is that recommendation by the Kaduna State House of Assembly. Now, why would Mr. El Rufai issue such a letter or leak it? He's trying to preempt an arrest. And we also, the drama that happened when he flew into Abuja from Cairo.
Correct.
And his passport was forcibly taken from one of his supporters. Now, he's trying to prevent an arrest, right? And he's trying to make sure that if he falls sick during detention, then the letter he wrote will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because if he were to fall sick, people would go, his supporters would go back and say, but this man already warned us about this. Now, the question here is who blinks first within the administration, within the setup? Is it the federal government or Mr. El Rufai? Now, the federal government's motive is simple. Keep him busy, keep him distracted with a legal case. He won't have the time, the resources, or the political capital to organize the North against Mr. Tinubu in the run-up to next year's elections. It is already crystal clear to keen and ardent observers of the Nigerian political space that the North is not exactly Mr. Tinubu right now. But in politics, anything can change. But as at this moment, no. So the real question here is, like I said, who's going to blink first? Will Mr. El Rufai negotiate a quiet agreement at the back wherein he stops to talk and the federal government leaves him alone? Because I sincerely have my reservations, doubts, and concerns whether that 423 billion naira allegation can be established in court. Because knowing Mr. El Rufai, who keeps records, he may bring out records to show what that money was spent on.
So why hasn't he done that thus far?
So he feels that that National House of Assembly investigation was a political hit job. He's falling out with the Kaduna State governor, who he, interestingly enough, installed. So he's falling out with the political establishment in Kaduna. He's falling out with the political establishment at the federal level. So he's saying all of this is just politics, it's persecution, that he's not guilty, and that he has a track record to show for it. So we'll see how the story develops and unfolds, and we'll keep the listeners updated.
Most definitely, we will keep them updated. So many interesting dynamics going on at the moment. Drama left, right, and center.
One last thing. Mr. El Rufai, when he was governor, had little or no regard for the rule of law and court orders and for the process of law and order. So it's surprising that he's now looking up to that same process. It's really, he arrested a friend of mine from Lagos, had him taken to Kaduna, and this guy was in detention for over 2 to 3 months. He had to get secure court orders, I think at a court of appeal level, to get his freedom back. For those who know, you know.
You know what they say, Mr. C, shifting of the goalposts to when it actually benefits you. That's something that happens a lot in Nigeria, and it's very unfortunate to see that those who are supposed to be in certain positions are the ones who are on the wrong side when it comes to obeying court orders and so on. AB, you had a thought
Just,
here?
I mean, like Mr. C said, that 432 billion, El-Rufai is a reputed quantity surveyor. His life has to do with numbers. I am relatively confident that he could readily establish where the money is supposed to be missing. But his perception is that this is all about politics. And indeed, as some other stories will show, there has been an overbearing amount of politics in the face of other things going on. Let's go.
Yes, indeed. Let's go. Let's step into the premium times and talk about the Nigerian government who have been putting out warnings. Well, the government has warned citizens of the country to be careful of being recruited to fight in foreign wars, following confirmations that 2 Nigerians were recently killed in Ukraine while fighting for Russia. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tugar, in a statement issued on Sunday by his spokesperson, Kimi Ebienfa, expressed grave concern over the rising cases of Nigerian citizens being illegally recruited to participate in foreign armed conflicts. AB, why would anyone leave where they are? Well, the relative comfort, and I put that in quotes, to go and fight an active war. Why would anybody want to do that?
You see, coming from on the face of it, this is a fair warning. Just be wary about offers that may seem too quote unquote good to be true, because they often are. People are, sent information about huge salaries and potential fast track to citizenship and all that. And some of them take the offer or the bait. The thing is this, Ayo, I doubt very much that there is absolutely anything I can say or do to bait you and Mr. C to take off your shirts on air right now. There is absolutely nothing I can say. The reason why is that when you look at the relative situation that you are living in, nothing would make you feel that that's a better thing to do. We are talking about an administration that's been talking about renewed hope. By the time a Nigerian looks around himself, sees or seeks the hope, doesn't see it, sees a war zone, and chooses, I will leave this budding renewed hope environment and instead travel to potentially face my death, that should make those in government ask themselves questions. Why would citizens choose to leave what should be, as you said, a relatively comfortable place and go elsewhere? Because you have not done what it takes. Now, people have the right to get up and travel.
Of course.
Travel is part of humanity. They can even travel to their deaths. That's true. But that's why I said on the surface of it, this statement has merits, okay? Beware. But underneath that top line, what are we doing in this country so that promises of lucrative environments, security, jobs, educational opportunities, and migration incentives are less tempting? So when a person or when a couple of people go, some of them are there, they are not dead. These two in question are now dead. May they rest in peace. They thought that they were going to try. In fact, they say sometimes they are offered other things, and it's when they get there that is converted into going to the war front. Somebody who doesn't have a military background could find themselves just conscripted by force to the war front. The issue is that I wouldn't put myself ordinarily into the potential situation if around me I saw better offerings and conditions. So yes, do be wary. They say this is for the men. Of course, there are also some offers that go to women and not just from Russia. You have people, in all sorts of parts of the world, the Middle East and all that. They invite people, women in many cases, and what happens to them is better imagined than stated. So the bottom line, all that is external to us, and there's very little you can do to control somebody externally. What you have the power to do is to make your land so bountiful that it becomes the exception rather than the norm to seek to leave your country. Somebody said that the number one goal, wish, prayer of an unfortunately large number of younger Nigerians is to leave Nigeria. That is not a good record on which to say you are running, you are managing a country. And I've seen some trite things. Oh, Tinubu did this, Tinubu did that. First of all, Tinubu could have done whatever he had done. I will never forget our state governors and our local government chairmen. They have direct responsibility for how you and I lead our lives on a daily basis. Tinubu will not, cannot, and should not take care of the link road between my house and the market there, or take care of the trash on my street. That is not a federal responsibility. So let's never take our eyes off the prize of the governors and the local government chairman.
Thank you very much, Evie, for sharing that perspective there. Uh, Shola on WhatsApp says, people are desperate. How many Dubai citizens or how many UAE citizens are going to fight wars in other countries? Well, that is the allusion.
Exactly.
People are desperate. I mean, look at the Japa syndrome. A lot of people are leaving the country, and even these individuals have looked at it and said, this is an opportunity to leave the country, even though it's under very, very dire circumstances. But we'll take this instead of being here. Now, that says quite a bit. All right, Mr. C. Let us take a walk into the Punch. Let's talk about what's going on with the National Assembly. Well, they announced on Sunday that they will reconvene their plenary session on Tuesday, February 17, 2026, cutting short their recess amid indications that lawmakers may review the date set for the 2027 presidential election. Didn't they just come back from a holiday recently? Anyway, findings by Punch correspondents show that the National Assembly may shift presidential poll to February 13, 2027. So give us an explanation as to what exactly is going on here.
Okay, thank you, Ayu. So remember that I think it was on Friday or Saturday, INEC announced the dates for the elections next year. And the Presidential National Assembly elections were scheduled to hold on the 20th of February. And then the gubernatorial and state houses of assembly elections were scheduled to hold 2 weeks later. It then turned out that the 20th of February next year will be smack into Ramadan. And this was raised by Atiku Abubakar, asking that why would the electoral umpire fix an election during a holy period of fasting for a good proportion of the society. Now, remember, the National Assembly was supposed to have gone on this 2-week recess 2 weeks ago. They came back because of the backlash on Section 60, subsection 3 or 4, I think, of the Electoral Act. They came back to sort of shift their position, but in a sense, they found a loophole through which they will continue the shenanigans. Again, they fix it again. Now, you raised the question, did they just come back from a holiday? These are the same set of individuals who went on a long Christmas and New Year recess. Now, according to the Constitution, the National Assembly must sit for a minimum of 181 days a year. Ladies and gentlemen, that is just half of the calendar year. Now, it will shock a lot of people, or some people, to discover that they don't even sit up to 181 days. In 2021, the Senate sat for only 66 days. The House of Reps for 70.
In a calendar year.
In a calendar year.
For that amount of money.
But they collected
little achievement.
But they collected the full amount of money they were supposed to collect in form of salaries, allowances, and other prayers and blessings they typically receive. Now, the year has just started, Ayo. Today is what? Today is the 16th of February.
Correct.
We've barely scaled through half of the month, and they're talking about a 2-week recess. Is that how normal Nigerians work?
Keyword normal.
And then when Ramadan ends, they're going to go on another recess. When Easter comes, they're going on another recess. And then when they do sit, even the simple business of doing what they're expected to do turns out to be a problem. The Senate leader, I think Senator Opeyemi from Ekiti, was still trying to justify why they removed the term real time from the proposed legislation, saying that there are technological challenges and all of that. But with due respect to the senator, we have real-time electronic transactions going on throughout the country. And unless I'm mistaken, INEC will not set up a polling unit in a thick forest, in a thick swamp, or a thick bush.
Mm.
They will put it in the midst of human habitation, human dwellings. What is this reluctance to do the proper thing? Now that they're coming to sit to say that, okay, you can't fix the date during the Ramadan period, which makes a lot of sense. Now, if you don't do that, when do you plan to hold the election? Surely you're not suggesting January.
I think their suggestion is a week earlier.
So how does a week earlier help them? Because a week earlier is only
It's
for the
still inside
presidential.
Ramadan.
It's only for the presidential. How about the state houses of assembly and the gubernatorial elections? Won't that fall within? It's a 2 week
Of course
gap.
it will.
So why can't we just have all the elections on one day?
Brilliant. So that's what we're talking about.
Too brilliant for Nigerian legislators to accept.
This is a very simple thing. Can you just do the elections on one day? Save everybody's time. Stop duplicating resources. Stop giving political parties unnecessary expenses. One day, 4 ballot papers. As you're voting for the president, you're voting for your senator, you're voting for your member of the House of Reps, you're voting for your governor. Then everything comes out at once. But no, it must always be difficult. It must always be convoluted. It must always not make any sense.
Bottom
So
line.
if you truly
no
understand
sense.
Nigeria, if you truly understand Nigeria,
That's not properly explained to you, as they say out there.
Let me take a message or two very quickly before I come back to you, AB. This is Shola, who says, and I'm going to work every day, even some Saturdays. See why fighting for Ukraine isn't a bad idea? That says so much. This is JP. JP says, good morning, Smooth. Morning to you, JP. It's a case of those that go being in a situation of no hope at home to take an alternative, which is dangerous. With the type of governance we have, it will continue as they keep standing on a mandate and not national growth. So sad. Cheers. Cheers to you as well. JP. Don Kelvin says, even in the thick forest, don't the terrorists shoot TikTok videos? Nigerians really need to begin the recall process of these senators refusing electronic transmission of the results. You wanted to say something very quickly?
I just want to say, as a first major thing, I think INEC has not shown proper project management. The elections are a project, and you're supposed to have stakeholder management and risk analysis. How do you, in a country like Nigeria, not study your calendar, look at your various public holidays and other culturally relevant things, and then schedule that? That is not a good first step by the INEC, headed by Amupitan. I just want to put that out there because it's a fact.
All right, Abi, let's step into this day newspaper. President Bola Tinubu has ordered a comprehensive investigation into the causes of recurring Kano market fire incidents, which often leave traders in despair. Now, the president, in a statement issued on Sunday by his advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, had earlier reached out to Kano State Governor Abba Yusuf to obtain a situation report on the inferno. Now, not to sound insensitive here, Abi, but we recently had a number of fire incidents in the city of Lagos. And I don't recall the president ordering a probe into those incidents, even sending the vice president, out there to the scene. What do you make of this?
Bottom line is what Mr. C referred to at the beginning of this conversation. The president's, and I have also made reference to, politicization of what should be simple things. That, first of all, fire and other, there's a federal fire service, but there are also state fire services. The federal fire service ought to have facilities available. Now, I had the privilege of going to school in Jos, where there was an ultra-modern main market back in the day. And I saw how even our standard things that we sell could be placed in a safe manner. When a market catches fire, typically, what happens is that there's a source. Fire needs 3 things: a source of heat, fuel, and oxygen. So something starts. There should be ways where you can stop it from spreading. But if you don't have a properly laid out market, you now have the possibility of the fire jumping from place to place. Then you should have, when it's discovered, a way to alert people. If you don't have those fire alert systems, you don't have a proper market. Then when you have alerted people, you should have a way to fight the fire. Of course, always keeping life safety first. The first thing in a fire is keep your life. Is when you are able to keep your life, you can now fight the fire. Do we have hydrants? Do we have sprinklers? Do we have any forms of fire extinguishers in these markets? Or are they the normal thing? And then even when you have a federal fire service that may want to come with, a fire engine, are the roads accessible that will let the fire engines come close to the fire? You see, we have a number of failures that often lead to these things. And this also includes what led to the fire. Sometimes it could be incidental, electrical arcs can set off fire, or people doing the wrong thing, maybe cooking with something where you are not supposed to cook. We don't know the source yet. That should be uncovered. But the bottom line, the question you asked, it's interesting that this fire incident, tragic as it is, I hope that nobody lost their lives, because life safety is the number one concern. I'm hoping that nobody lost their lives. I'm really praying for those who lost their material, their property, because they have a high hill to climb. This should also remind us that insurance should be part of what you do when you have business and you have stock. So this fire thing has a lot of parts to it. The physical environment where the fires occur, the way we tackle and prevent them from happening. Remember in Lagos, there were the fires in those buildings where we saw people jumping, people died. As recently as that, buildings close to each other. We've had these conversations. We cannot stop having them. The bottom line is that the way we deal with our built environment will have a say in whether or not we are able to control incidents and accidents like this. No, I'm hoping that it wasn't arson. I'm hoping that it was an accident. But even when an accident happens, how does the built environment help to control it? But the matter of sending the vice president there, I think, is 100% political. Because as you said, in the city of the city boy, fires have happened, and the city boy couldn't evidently be bothered to send that self-same vice president, who incidentally is a city boy himself. He's worked in Lagos, to come and investigate. I'm not making comparisons. I'm just saying there's too much politicization of what should be basic environment and infrastructure matters. Let's leave the politics. Let's face life safety and a proper built environment. I think we can do that.
Okay, so two things very quickly. I doubt the president has the power to order a probe into what happened at the market. That should fall squarely within the jurisdiction of the state government or even the local government. More
Believe me,
importantly,
local governments.
everybody watch how a contract to reconstruct that market will soon appear. Just watch.
We watch and we wait. Mr. C, I mentioned that we need to, more things, but we need to touch on this before we go. And this one I need to bring to the floor here, and it's about the Kwara State government. It's in two parts, where the Kwara State government has acknowledged the video released by terrorists showing women and children abducted from the Wara community, and says it is working with security agencies and community leaders to identify and secure the victims' release. Now, in that video, it reportedly shows a Boko Haram faction led by Malam Sadiku, who posted the video on TikTok claiming it is holding 176 captives. On the other hand, the Kwara State governor, Abdul Rahman Abdul Razak, has drawn a lot of criticism following a video in which he spoke about delivering victory for the All Progressives Congress in the Federal Capital Territory Council election, despite what has been going on in Kwara State, and off the back of that particular video as well. Mr. C, what level of irresponsible behavior do we call this?
That's $1 million question. So remember, there was a deadly attack in Kwara. The president actually, was it the president Shetima? One of them went to Kwara, but they met people from the affected communities at the government house. They were not taking, it was Shetima. Shetima was not allowed to go to the communities to see them in person. Now we have non-state terrorist actors posting videos on TikTok. And this is why I'm so upset with
the National Assembly.
with its content creators in the National Assembly.
They don't have
Because
network. Are you sure they're creating content? They don't have network, they said.
a TikTok account requires registration. Something must have been registered. You need internet access at some point. Let's even say you shoot the video normally. At some point, to upload it to the net, you need internet access. Have they investigated any of that? Then we have the typical government response. We condemn, we reaffirm our commitment to ensuring that they are reunited with their loved ones. How about being more deliberate and intentional about preventing it in the first place? Then you then have the governor of the state promising to deliver FCT to the president. You are not interested in delivering safety to the residents of the state you supposedly are governing. You are not interested in making sure their lives are better. Your primary interest is votes. Just deliver votes to the president. And it now shows you the bigger picture of what we're truly dealing with. If the governor of a state is more concerned about what goes on in another location, all I can tell the good people of Kwara State, please look up to God. That's the only solution. It is so disappointing, so heartbreaking. And if I can't even come out on air and say that will be the last attack we'll experience in Kwara State. Remember, in Kwara State, there are two different groups operating. You have the Mahmuda group, you have the Lakurara group. Then you have this Boko Haram splinter faction. What is going
on? I just need to remind us all that they are sending TikTok videos from what we call ungoverned spaces, because I presume they're not in the center of Ilorin, Kwara State. They must be somewhere with the 176 captives. It's hard to keep 176 people who are captives very inconspicuously in the center of Ilorin. So they are supposedly in an ungoverned space, the kind of space that a National Assembly said you cannot transmit votes from. I just want us to keep all these things in mind.
So final point. A TikTok video is heavier than real-time transmission of an electoral sheet.
Of an image. And of just an image of an
a TikTok video has image, it has sound.
Absolutely. Multimedia is definitely heavier to send than an image, one captured image. Come on.
Let me take messages. What is start of the morning? Ajay, good morning to you. He says, I'm not surprised that some Nigerians are so desperate to leave the country only to find themselves in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. If people can risk their lives crossing the Sahara Desert and the Mediterranean Sea in an attempt to reach Europe, there's nothing they cannot do. Tony Marine Beach says, good morning all. Good morning to you, Tony. A beautiful analysis on the El Rufai issue. Thanks for helping to connect the dots. It's really interesting to know how El Rufai knew this kind of thing happens. And it's also great that the Buha has brought this to the knowledge of Nigerians thereof. One of the secrets is now blown open. May God continue to set up confusion among the enemies of progress of common Nigerians so that more secrets will come to the fore. As for the innocent, uninformed Nigerians deceived into the war front, I think it's actually a case of moving from one war to a more complex war. Do they really regret it? Because there seems to be a good incentive for the second war. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Well done, Tony. Jerry says, morning, Ayo and gentlemen, let the elections hold during Ramadan. If the presidents will fear their God and not want to rig, just making sense, let all the elections hold in one day.
That's the bottom line.
Dako from Agigi says, Ramadan fasting and elections, come see us struggle. Senate and reps have developed cold feet about automatic transmission of electoral votes, electronic transmission. If there weren't any skeletons and naughty intentions, why should they lose their sleep if their motives were transparent? Questions. Chidozie says, Nigerians who go to fight wars for other countries will be paid handsomely and are guaranteed their pensions. However, also those who fought in the Civil War back then in Nigerian uniforms are yet to be paid, despite going through multiple verification processes in Abuja. Some have died in penury without leaving any inheritance for their descendants. Is it really worth it working for the Nigerian nation? All All right, this is Peter. Peter in Ikorodu says, well, there's no light in Ikorodu as well. He further says, the four lepers in the Bible chose to face the Syrians rather than stay in Samaria, and it panned out well for them. And he says, Mr. C, you are very right as regards the Quara people. So much is happening. Let me see. All right, I think we are good. Thank you all for the messages. Very much appreciated. What a great way to start Monday, even though some of the stories just have you feeling some type of way. We really hope that it does get better. Thank you, Mr. C, and thank you, AB, for starting the week with us. A pleasure.
Thank you, Ayo. Thank you, Mr. C. And thank you to every one of the listeners who take their time to join us, listen, and contribute. I'm happy we're doing a roll call of all of us who don't have lights. I unfortunately, we know that the people who should give us light are not listening. There's a meme going around that they say, don't talk, just forward it. It's that meme where the president said, if we don't give you regular supply, don't vote for us. We're not talking, we're just reminding ourselves. It's when a government says, I'm leaving the grid that I'm responsible for, they have thrown up their hands and said, this is a task we have no intention of solving. And it's just like INEC, they are not managing the projects properly. I'm a project management professional. You approach things in a certain way and you can get at least some projected results. We don't say solve everything at once, but give us a way forward. They have shut down way forward and they're inside politics as usual. No direct transmission. God help us.
Thank you, Ayers. Thank you, AB. Thank you, wonderful listeners. And as we both prepare for the holy seasons of Lent and Ramadan, let us be serious with these seasons and let us bring our requests to God. And by his infinite mercies and graces, he will hear us and he will provide solutions. Because
Amen.
the content creators we have in the corridors of power, no way.
Let us go forth, seize the day, carpe diem, and make the best of it. My name is Ayokunmi Kekireakun. It's going to be an interesting rest of the morning, 8:15, a look at what's going on in the world of sports as we step into the locker room.